Go. All right, welcome back. If you haven't watched our Super Bowl preview show, stop right there. Go watch the Super Bowl preview show, then come back and watch this. We are starting off with a bang. We got a new segment. We are calling it Bad Tweets of the Week. I got a couple of them for you, boys. Twitter is, I don't know if there's one word to describe Twitter because there are so many ways to describe it, but it is my favorite place to go after any game, any night. If I'm bored, if I'm folding laundry, I'll always get distracted and pull up Twitter because it's just always one of the best things to do in the world. So this one is not necessarily a bad tweet, but it's a bad action by a New York Rangers player, Alexander Gorgiev. Did you guys see what he did when he was coming off the ice?
That was Shostorkin, but yeah, go.
Whatever. He came off the ice, and this was put in a tweet, and he turned around and pretended to beat up Marin. So that is my first bad tweet of the week because it was not so.
It was
good.
shade. It was shade.
It was suspect. Another bad tweet of the week. This one is brought to you by @NotExcuses on Twitter. So the Leafs tweeted out last night. They were playing Vancouver. They tweeted out, Vancouver ties it with 13:36 to go in the first. And he responds to this about the Leafs. This team is absolutely horrible. Blow it up ASAP.
Guy said about our team?
About the Leafs, yeah.
Okay, yeah, just skip that. Don't give it anymore.
No, actually, I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Call the person out. Call the person out. What account was that?
I just said it.
Say it again.
It was like @ASAP only or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Do you have another one?
Yeah, I got a couple more. This one is brought to you by one of my favorite follows, @DannyAllstar15, Big Heat Daddy. Remember Mike Babcock healthied Spezza last year for the hometown kid with his whole family in the building? I remember that. That is a discussion that we can have later where just a reminder that Mike Babcock healthied Jason Spezza on opening night. That was a bad situation. All right, bye, Brendan. There's a couple more bad ones. I don't think any of them are worth to bring up right now, but we're going to save them. Leafs game last night. Final score, 7-3 over the Vancouver Canucks. Brandon, your opening thoughts on this?
I don't know if you remember this, but we were playing some video games yesterday before class, maybe around noon, and I was kind of on a high note saying how excited I was to see it blow out because I was just feeling really confident for the Leafs that night. And it wasn't looking too hot. And then the floodgates eventually started opening, starting with the confidence play of Jason Spezza shooting the puck at will, showing us flashbacks of, late 2000s. And Austin Matthews is keeping on a crazy pace. To be completely honest, we were probably playing one of the weaker teams this year, too.
The third weakest team in the Canadian division, and look what we did to them. Just absolutely obliterated them. Yeah, it was a great game last night. I thought it was a good performance by everybody. If I had to pick one hole in the game, which is kind of hard to do in a 7-3 win, Freddie Anderson looked a little shaky, but apart from that, the team looked okay, looked great, right?
Relax.
And I don't know if Vancouver didn't look like an NHL team last night.
No,
you let a 40.
I barely noticed any of their players, like Pedersen or Hughes, Horvat or Besser.
How old Spezza? 37?
Yeah.
You let a 37-year-old take a stroll to the net and score.
Yeah.
And what about the first goal? Did you see the first goal? They were mentioning how easy it was.
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Before you say it, I want to say, because you probably didn't watch the intermissions, after the first intermission, Kevin Bieksa or someone said, that was probably the easiest goal Austin Matthews will ever score in his career. I don't know, Josh, you caught that, but the way you said it to me when I missed it, when I wasn't watching the game at that time, was that what a gross goal end-to-end by Matthews. And I watched it back a couple times, and it was a forward skating backwards on D, which Matthews tries to target. And but I will agree with the horrible 5-hole by.
It was Demko, I think.
Who was in that?
Demko.
Yeah. It was a goal. It was a rough goal if you scored 5-hole on one side of the net. But sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, just to talk about that first goal, I kind of knew it was over when that first goal.
Yeah.
I think JT Miller was the guy skating backwards.
I think it was as well.
I know he doesn't play defense. It's kind of hard to explain, but when that happens, you're supposed to let the guy behind you get that guy. because like he literally cut off his own player. If you watch it back, he skated backwards across the ice. And I've never played defense, but isn't that like a big no-no?
It is a big no-no.
Yeah, so I kind of knew it was over then. But just to talk about the Leafs, how fucking good is it that we have a fourth line that actually contributes on a night-to-night basis?
Well,
I want to mention how
they looked good last night, man.
Yeah, they were good.
Fast Mikheyev is. Mikheyev?
Yeah.
Regardless, he is a huge body, and when I think about it, I think about fourth line big bodies in the Toronto Maple Leafs, recent history. And what are two that come to mind for you guys? Gauthier and let's say Colton Orr. Regardless, stupid.
Shout
those two
out.
guys. They could not move their feet to save their life. I don't think Frederic Gauthier was a very good skater, but Mikheyev is I'd say underratedly one of the fastest players on the whole team, and that's one of his greatest strengths because he can use his huge size that was just naturally gifted to him to ease that. He's looking more powerful every week, at least. Not every game. It takes him a little steps behind because he doesn't score as much. But I see when I'm watching the full game, I like to watch him. I don't know about you guys.
I mean, Mikheyev's frustrating to watch right now because he gets the puck to the net and does nothing with it.
Yeah, he has to bury some chances.
I think he's doing all the right things and he's just not getting the right bounces.
Yeah, he'll get one. One's going to bounce off his ass or something, and then floodgates will open.
Yeah, so just at practice today, I saw Sheldon Keefe kind of consoling Rasmus Sandin because he's not really in the rotation. So, Josh, what do you think about that?
Oh, man, I feel bad for these rookies, right? Like, no, not rookies.
It's a tough year to be a rookie or a second year
player.
Not
even a rookie, like someone trying to get into the lineup because it's a 56-game season. And where are you going to be put in? Because right now, every game matters. And you can't afford to lose a game because of a bad performance by someone you're trying to get used to the lineup. And the North, the AHL does have an all-Canadian division. It's supposed to start this weekend. They haven't got a start date yet. I don't know where this guy's going to play. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him against Ottawa just to get him some action, some game action, get his legs moving. But it's a tough year to be someone trying to break into the lineup. And when you get in, you got to make the most of it, kind of like Nick Patan and
I got a question when you're done.
Boyd have done, right? Like when those guys have been put in, they made the most of it. And I feel bad for Sandin, but I also understand it.
Brandon, go ahead.
Matt, you said you're at practice today?
Oh, I said at practice today. No,
okay.
Sheldon Keefe doesn't really give me the invite. I should be at practice.
Sounds to me like you might know a little bit more about this answer than I do, but I'm curious as to Joe Thornton's progress. How is he looking?
Sheldon Keefe said him and Nick Robertson are on their target date, and I think the original thing was Thornton. Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, was 4 weeks. So I think he
should be back in like 10 to 14 days.
Yeah, so everything's going good there. And just saying to you guys, I feel like the Leafs have so many players. Like Sandin, Liljegren is God knows how far the depth charts. Robertson, like we have a lot of these young kind of
Speaking
tweeners.
Of the forwards, do you guys ever talk about Nick Patan? I've never heard about him until last night.
We don't need to talk about Nick Patan. So just what I was saying was Brandon, that was funny. You're a Nick Patan fan or what?
No, I was mentioning we never mentioned him and I saw him last night.
Just give him a shout out. Yeah. He had a really good pass from Spezza in that one goal, but just back to original. Josh, Brandon too. I was just wondering, do you see us just moving maybe Sandin Liljegren and like a pick for like a good player just to go for a run for the cup? Because I think we're one of the best teams in the division.
Do you think Sandin would even catch you something?
I think he would.
No, Josh, I think not even Sandin and a pick would be worth like a top 6 forward. Like but
like Sandin and like a first. Like I'm not like a random pick. Like
does he have any games under his belt, like 30 or 40?
Yeah, 30 or 40. But I just look at it like I think he could be a top 4 defenseman.
He has
11 you gotta remember,
games.
He's so young. What?
Sandin has 11 games.
Not total.
Yeah.
Total
Dude,
NHL.
No.
Wow.
Okay, I'll check right now. You just talk.
Yeah, but in a normal year, like this isn't a normal year. I know, Matt, I see the logic behind Matt's argument that they would bring in a haul to get a player to go for the cup. The only way that you are going to get a player of that caliber and for it to count is if you're trading with another Canadian team. Because
NHL, I think the important thing, Josh, before we keep going, to mention on a trade that would help us get farther is for the other team to get a player who can play now in the NHL. I think that's pretty important, especially with COVID going on. I don't know if people are looking to give up and not get back right away.
Yeah, you're not.
I feel like you guys don't understand where I'm coming from. Sorry to cut you off, but my point was, he's played 28 games, Josh. So whatever. Right, my point is, you have a 20-year-old defenseman who's a first-round pick, a stud at the World Juniors, and we just don't have space on our left side with Riley and Muzzin. So I'm saying, if you're an Anaheim or a team that's rebuilding, put him in your core and see what he has in a trade. So I don't really think him playing this year should be a problem at all for the team that would be acquiring him in said trade at the deadline. Because prospect.
That team that does pick him up needs to have that spot, though.
No, they're tanking, Brandon. That's my point. So why?
I don't think Anaheim's tanking, dude.
No, but they should be looking at the
roster.
What
did you say, Edmonton?
Anyways, I said Anaheim.
Oh, Anaheim. You think he'd go to Anaheim? Who would we want from Anaheim?
Cam Fowler.
Yeah, Josh Manson. I just meant like have another guy at the back end or just a trade at the deadline. But anyways, we can switch gears and so yeah, we'll switch gears. But that was good. The Leafs played really good. I think we're a top team in the Canadian division. That's kind of a fact looking at the standings.
Shout out to the Montreal Canadiens who lost to the Ottawa Senators last night.
Yeah, I don't really see Montreal as a threat, but we could talk about that in another show because I don't really think they're worth mentioning, to tell you the truth. Burn. So yeah. Josh. Wow. So, Josh, you want to talk about the NWHL and the sad COVID situation? I know you know more about this.
This could go on forever.
Yeah, let's put a time limit on this one, or just kind of self-monitor ourselves here. But unfortunately, the NWHL have closed their season. It's done.
I'm coming to pick up mine today.
Yeah, the day the season closed, my jersey arrived. And so literally I read the tweet, went down to check the mail half an hour later, and my Toronto 6 jersey had showed up. So it was like, okay, fuck, whatever. The Ribs pulled out, and then the Whale pulled out like half an hour before their game was supposed to start. It was really unfortunate, and I'm going to take a stance here. The players deserve better. So anything I say right now is not directed at the players or the coaches or the people who work for the teams. Everything I say now is directed at the NWHL and their front office. And that, I'm going to start with, it's a fucking joke. There was no transparency in the league. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew the COVID protocols. Players were coming in and out of the bubble, which they then changed to a restricted access area in the press conference afterwards. Like Ty Tamilia was up there just making phrases up and trying to dig her way out of a hole that just kept falling in. It was a joke. And it's like, and we're seeing the numbers come out now. Like, we know the Buttes had cases. The Whale definitely had cases. Like, their head coach, Colton Orr, was saying, yeah, we had the option to play the game. They said we could play. And we were like, no, we're not playing. So that's why they withdrew. The Ribs withdrew due to safety concerns. The Pride had 3 cases, and we're not sure about the 6 and another team. We're not sure who had cases.
The Boston team?
The Pride had cases. The Ribs, I think the 6 are the only team we're unsure about. And it's just kind of a shame, man, because they had so much momentum and people were hating on them. But if you just take away from like all the outside drama, if you take away from the Barstool stuff, if you take away from the non-transparency in the league, and just if you were to just tune in, watch the Twitch stream, and then tune out, you would say, damn, that was a great game of hockey. Because there were some really good games of hockey, right? It's yeah, hopefully they'll be back. They haven't canceled their season, they suspended it, but in my honesty, I don't think they'll be able to finish this season. Which kind of sucks because we had some good hockey there going on, and I don't know. It's one of those things that came up, and if they come back to it, I think they're going to need to really enforce the bubble and not let players in after the fact. Don't let family members in. There were some rumors that was happening. Apparently players were leaving to go and get food and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, okay. We'll see what happens there. I don't know if I've given you enough information there. You want to ask me any more questions about it?
No, Josh, that was good. Brandon, what do you think about it? Or just
let me ask, because I'm not going to be, I was going to say be devil's advocate, but it's not. I just want to be an interviewer here to Josh, because I do have a couple questions for him if I was to be someone on the outside looking in. From the general viewer who maybe just tuned into Twitch and watched the NWHL over the past 2 weeks. Josh, what would you say was the starting point of this season getting canceled? Because do you think that it could have ever been possible with getting through the tournament and completing it with 2 teams fully out? to begin with, or do you think that there was always a domino effect about to be in play?
When the Ribs pulled out, it was kind of a warning sign, but they still had 5 teams and they were able to rejig the tournament for it to make sense. When the Whale pulled out and it came down to just the 6, the Pride, the Buttes, and another team who I can't remember off the top of my head.
The Pride?
Pride, Buttes, 6.
The Whales?
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Whatever, yeah. When it came down to 4 teams, it kind of seemed like, okay, this just kind of seems the teams are in it by default right now, because the Whale and the Ribs were 2 of the stronger teams. And it didn't seem feasible. When it went down to 4 teams, it was kind of concerning. And then when they announced they were down to 4, the season was shortly canceled after that.
And something that kind of stuck out for me, reading over the Twitter information that's been publicized, was I'd say initially what we thought was a bubble was kind of flipped on its head when you started to mention earlier. There was an access point, and they changed the name of a bubble between an ease to something about, acceptable access with COVID, whatever, screening. And I want you to tell us more about that, because as you said in your rant that there wasn't much transparency. What the fuck is allowing extra people for supposedly a taxi squad in the middle of a bubble to come in and play? Like, that shit kind of ruins the purpose. And I think, to further your point, that is on management.
Right, Brandon. Like, that's kind of a tough question to answer without the inside knowledge. I was messaging back and forth with a couple of people just trying to get some information, and obviously they can't tell me. They don't know either, right? Like, they're insiders in the NWHL. And they were saying pretty much the NWHL had, and they said this like in brackets, they were like, had guidelines, but nobody knew what they were. And the Pride brought in players, and I believe the Whale brought in players as well as the Buttes brought in players. And the other teams are kind of like, why? And they were saying, oh, you're allowed a taxi squad because of injuries. And like, that was never fully told to the teams. And it was never, like, we had no idea. Like, I saw on Twitter that, like, oh, the Pride have added one of these players who had 48 points in 50 NWHL games. Like, damn, that's pretty fucking good. But why is she joining right now?
Yeah, it kind of sucks, the whole NWHL situation, but I think as our podcast and just the platform we have and just social media in general, we got to start hyping and promoting the shit out of this league so it'll be back and be even better in the future. So just switching gears, because I know talking about this COVID stuff.
One sec. I got to cut you off there. Sorry about that. There is one thing I would like to see change with this league, because it's not perfect. Like, I am a fan of the NWHL. I think.
No, but Josh, let's leave on a high note.
No, you don't have to say anything bad. I will leave on a high note, because it's very important.
Let Josh at least.
And everybody, I think everybody is feeling this. When Danny Ryland left, she left her old staff there. When Ty Tamilia came in, she wasn't able to be given enough time. She was brought in, like, I think it was 2 months before the bubble started. She didn't have enough time to bring in her own staff. So she's working with people who Danny Ryland brought in, right? So she's trying to, like, she can't fully implement her vision without being able to set her own staff. So now they have time. Now they can sit back and reflect, restart. Like, don't forget about this season. Use it as a learning experience and come back strong. You got 6 really good teams, okay? So come back strong. Be transparent with your league. Like, we know the NHL, they have insiders and reporters. Have those people relay the message to your fans. Don't have me, who's a fan of the NWHL, DMing team reporters being like, hey, what the hell is going on here? Right? Like, put out press conferences. Don't say, when something happens, don't say, yeah, we'll have a message.
That's a good point, Josh, because
out there.
That is not the social media manager's jobs to do, is
right.
to relay important management level information that should be broadcast through agents and interviewers and team managements. It's not the Instagram, Twitter, social media runners of the account that are responsible for these high level transparency problems, I'd say. And that's unfair for us to believe that it is, when they have so much more else on their plate to do, especially promoting the game of women's professional hockey.
Right. It's a shame that's what it came to.
Yep. So Yeah, it does suck. And like we said, we're going to keep supporting the league, and we'll be back next year. I see Josh has his jersey. I'm probably definitely going to purchase one.
Oh, dude, this white jersey, it's so nice.
Yeah.
I'm just going to look at it.
Yeah, Matt, take us away, Matt.
Okay, yeah. So it does kind of suck that we have to talk about COVID so much in this show and use our platform, but it is kind of it's a global pandemic. You kind of have to talk about it. It affects all of us in different levels, and just kind of sucks how much it's affecting all these professional athletes. But with saying that, the NHL had a little bit of a COVID problem too between New Jersey, Buffalo. I think there's 40
Let's just say every
players.
team but the Canadian division.
Literally almost every division except for the Canadian division. And a lot of teams are affected by this. So I just wanted to kind of give it some background first. So it's kind of funny because I saw Buffalo say they got screwed because they're like, oh, none of us have COVID. We're fine. New Jersey was breaking guidelines and not doing what they're supposed to do. It's New Jersey's fault. And literally within 10 hours, or I think the same day, it came out that Ralph Kruger, the Buffalo Sabres head coach, has tested positive. So we're not sure if anyone violated guidelines. We do know the NHL is writing new guidelines and trying to get stricter. So I just kind of want to hear your guys' opinion on how the NHL has handled COVID so far. Brandon, Josh, who wants to go first?
Do you remember that commercial? I think it's Slap Tape, where the guy just slaps a piece of tape on the water.
That's called flex tape, but yes.
Flex tape, yeah. They're trying to do that. It's not working. The NHL, they announced a rule or a change in the arena. I don't even know if it's a fucking rule, like a change in the arena where they took the glass out behind the bench. They announced that, and then it came out that the head coach of the Sabres had COVID, so they took the glass out to stop COVID from getting to the coaches. It just kind of seems like patchwork along the way, and then they implemented this rule that the players couldn't be there until an hour 45 before the game.
How does the glass affect anything?
It's airflow.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's that whole thing where the refs still have to call the over the glass penalty as well, which I could go on about forever, so I'll just leave that alone. But
the imaginary fence.
Exactly, and then they put in a rule where the players can come to the arena an hour 45 before the game. It's like, okay, what's that going to do? And they changed that wording where now they're allowed again. But I think the NHL is just kind of trying to fix its problems as they arise. And the Sabres, I think it was Sunday. Did they play the Devils?
Yep.
They played the Devils on Sunday, and they went to the NHLPA before and said, we don't want to play. We don't feel comfortable. And they played anyway. So when a situation arises where a team doesn't feel comfortable playing, I think they need to listen and say, look, what can we do to help you here? Like, what's wrong? What changes do you need to be seen? And it's there seems to be a common theme here, but I think we can get to that in a little bit after I hear Brandon's thoughts on this.
So what is it? The question? Just my thoughts on the overall.
I'll ask the question, Brandon. So you kind of already alluded to this. It's every division except for the Canadian division. So asking you as a proud Canadian, do you think in Canada we handle COVID better? Do you think our hockey players that play on Canadian teams are listening more? Do you see a correlation at all, or what do you think?
That's a good question, because I think obviously it doesn't even boil down to sports. There's a positive and a negative side to this. I actually saw on Twitter today. I'll start with the negative, I guess. People are viewing, I don't know if you saw that, I might have sent this to you, Josh, but the Toronto Maple Leafs, I don't know if they're the only Canadian team, are one of the teams in NHL who have like this rapid testing center right in the rink.
Yeah.
The turnaround is whatever, as quick as can be, like exceptional turnaround, professional, state of the art. And a subtweet to this, which is what the point is, we can do this for professional athletes in the country, yet we can't do this for hospitals, schools, teachers, workplaces, retirement homes. And it's kind of like a priority thing that sheds a poor light on how Canada is still trying to really go about this coronavirus, because Ontario's been in a lockdown for what's going to be a month and a half and could be extended to 2 months. I'm not going to say that the lockdown is bad and the lockdown and that's what's negative about coronavirus, but I think a big thing here is there's so little transparency in America. I feel like every state guides their own rules and it's not universal. Not that I think Canada obviously does every province, but when the NHL and made a plan just to have traveling around just in each country, I don't know if they realize that there's states like maybe Florida or New York that are just highly there's more cases. I don't know if it's polices very well as like we can look at it from the NBA, like they had 0 tests the other day. So what's going on here that's not happening there? You know what I mean? And when you bring it up to Canada, sure, you can say that Canada as a government is dealing with the coronavirus better than probably America is, but it doesn't mean that we could do better or that they could do better. But there is a telltale difference. I'd say you can tell among the whole country. Globally, you can see the difference in how many cases are in Canada compared to how many cases are in America, regardless of professional hockey.
Right.
Yeah, that was good. So COVID's a really sad thing. I hate talking about it, but we obviously have to.
Yeah.
Brandon mentioned the NBA, so this is where it gets fun. The NBA apparently wants to have an all-star game. And for those who don't know an all-star game, it's literally the best players in the sport get together in a small space, play basketball, and play a game. So one would think maybe getting LeBron James, Anthony Davis, who are already together, with Giannis and all these players together, they could be easier exposed to COVID. And literally, could you imagine an event at the All-Star game where there's a COVID outbreak there? Your whole season's practically done or stopped because all the star players aren't playing because they got it at the All-Star game. And LeBron James had quotes saying, yeah, I'm not interested in an All-Star game. And what LeBron James says kind of goes. So, Josh, I saw your reaction. So do you think it's realistic to have an all-star game at this point?
I don't think they'll do it, man. I don't think the players will go.
Yeah, I would not go. And also, no offense to NBA players, but like an all-star game, what's the average salary they make in the all-stars? Probably like $30 million. And I think they said they wanted to do it in Florida or Atlanta, which they don't really have rules and they have a lot of nightclubs. So I know they're adults and professional athletes, but I don't trust NBA players out of all the athletes to go party for a weekend and call it an all-star game. Like, I think that's the worst idea ever.
If they were to just do it, why not just do the skills competition? Like, you can socially distance that.
Dude, I just think
no, unfortunately, I think you're still in the locker room, right?
Yeah. I saw the NFL, they have the Pro Bowl, and for the Pro Bowl for the NFL, they just did cool, like, virtual things with fans. Like, you saw them play Madden against each other, which was hilarious because they were dropping F-bombs and saying all that stuff. So I think there's other interactive cool things that they could do than just an all-star game. Because the all-star game, it is to make money, just to, like, kind of say you are the best in your sport and kind of market the players. But I just think the NBA has the best marketing platform out of anybody. So why do you need an all-star game? Brandon, what do you think?
I think I was hearing this earlier in the year that there's going to be an all-star teams announced, maybe no game played. So I think that can still be done for players' resumes, is that they can still get that qualification and recognition.
Yeah.
I don't know if the game needs to be played, but that's just the
you can name all-stars. That's what you're saying. Yeah, just name
is there. I know in the NHL, some players have contract ties to.
Yeah, so the NBA. I know what you're trying to say, Josh. The NBA is actually a lot more serious because you have to be named an all-star to qualify for a certain contract. So an example could be Klay Thompson couldn't get a max deal, which I think at the time would have been 5 years at $220 million, and instead he got 5 years at I think $190. Which I know to us, like, that's a lot of money, but like that's $30 million just because he didn't make for the all-star teams, the first all-star team, second or third.
Wait, man, don't the fans decide the all-stars in the NBA?
The fans get a vote for the starters, I think. So you know how like hockey we vote whoever votes is guaranteed in. That's kind of the NBA. So
you're kind of voting on a player's contract there. That seemed a little weird.
I know that's kind of cool, but it's the NBA. It's crazy, but like, yeah, you make good money no matter what. So another NBA story. It happened the day of we recorded our podcast. LeBron James and Courtside Karen. So have you guys seen the video? And you guys all up to date on that situation or what?
My only thought on this was that it was really stupid and wouldn't have been a story if it was anybody else but LeBron James.
Well, also, like, there's no fans in the building. You paid enough money to sit courtside.
I find the story funnier the more I dig into it and the more I found out.
It's so funny. This girl is nuts. Her husband's nuts. I did a little too much social media stalking. They live in Florida and Georgia, 2 crazy states. I think they like Trump. And the guy on his Instagram has pictures of LeBron from like 3 years ago where he sat behind him and said, "Oh, he's sitting in my drink. I hate this guy." So like, it's so sad. But this couple, this was like their dream come true, a conversation.
I think one of the exact quotations from Instagram picture was, "This guy needs to get his fat ass off my phone and wallet. I need it back," or something.
Yeah, that's what he said. So
And it was just a picture of a professional picture that was probably taken off the NBA website.
Yeah,
that had no correlation to do with him. LeBron James is in focus, and he is just behind him.
It's so
very
funny.
jealous, obviously.
So just to tell the story for people who've not heard it, LeBron James got in it with a male fan first. Then they're kind of yelling at each other, jaw. You could tell LeBron was smiling. He liked it. And then this girl, who I don't know how to say this respectfully, is probably 40, 30 years younger than the man she's with. And they weren't daughter and father. They
Sugar
were
baby.
Yeah, they're married. So she stands up and she's like, "Don't fucking talk to my husband like that. I'll fucking kill you," and just saying all these bad things. She took her mask off, which that's a big no-no. Like I don't sit courtside, obviously, so I didn't know that, but like that's kind of common sense. So LeBron yelled at her, and then she went off on her Instagram. Did you guys see that? It was so funny.
She did go off, but I think she later traced back a little bit of an apology.
Yeah, she said an apology. Yeah.
She's taking off her mask.
She apologized for taking her mask, not cussing out the best basketball player in the league. So
and for a little bit of extra context,
yeah.
If the viewer out there was to go and look up themselves, it's very easy to find. Just look up that altercation, and you'll see a picture of a steroid-using white male.
That guy took steroids 100%. 100%.
So,
looks like a balloon.
It's kind of funny. The guy's fishing out there for a little bit too much of recognition from LeBron. You should just sit there and shut up, as Kevin Durant has said before.
Yeah, I think that's enough of Courtside Karen.
Yeah, so shout out Courtside Karen. Go follow her. I don't have her
Get
IG
into
right
Matt's
here.
favorite segment.
No.
Good. Follow her on Instagram. Yes.
No.
Okay, fine. Don't follow her on Instagram.
Kinda
think we need T-shirts like Courtside Karen and the picture of her, or just something to throw shade. So, anyways, like Brandon kind of started to say, it's a new segment we have. It's called Debates. Well, Matt's Debates. So, Matt's Debates. I'm gonna ask 3 questions, and we're gonna kind of get a debate going because we all have different opinions. Josh is already laughing because he knows this debate's not good. So, anyways.
Hey, fuck off. I'm gonna win everyone now.
So, I'm asked 3 questions. The first one, we obviously watched the Leafs game last night. The Vancouver Canucks did not look good. Brandon already mentioned it, and I have a question very flat out. We're not talking about the 3rd, 4th line players. We're talking about the core. So the first question is, are the Vancouver Canucks core overrated? And the players I mentioned is Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, Bo Horvat, and Brock Besser. And we'll throw Demko in there. So, Josh, do the Vancouver Canucks have an overrated core and organization?
I don't think they're overrated. I think they're underperforming. They are not playing to their potential. Quinn Hughes is a future Norris winner. I'll stand by that. I think I actually picked him to win the Norris this year.
I think he's an offensive defenseman.
I think I was talking. Can I keep going?
Yeah.
I think he's a Norris winning defenseman. I think I actually picked him to win it this year. Brock Besser, I think he's like a 30, 40 goal scorer. Elias Pettersson, he's going to be a playmaker for years to come. And he's got a lethal slap shot from in the slot. Like, he kind of reminds me of Ovechkin a little bit, just the way he plays on the power point. I don't think their core is overrated. I just think they're underperforming. And it's kind of a shame. Once they get their shit together and they have a team around them. Like, if you put say, like, that's their 3 young players, right? So if you took Matthews, Nylander, and Marner and put them on the Canucks, they wouldn't be performing as well as they are on the Leafs right now. They don't have the surrounding pieces. So Jim Benning needs to get his shit together and get them a team to play with. Case closed.
Brandon, what do you think?
So overrated is the key word here, I guess. Underperforming could be an answer, but I'll look at the overrated factor. And listening to the broadcast last night, I was made aware of the Vancouver market seemingly being tough for hockey players, apparently, and how the media out there could be similar to Toronto. But it's hard for us to get a gauge on how that is because we don't really hear anything from the Toronto media. The Vancouver media down here in Toronto with the Leafs. However, I saw Josh and you guys smiling. I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm just going to keep on moving along.
I sent that apology message.
Oh, yeah. But Pettersson, Hughes, and Horvat are also in question here. Let me go about name by name. I think Pettersson is not having a good season right now, and it is showing through his lack of physical size. I think that he's a little bit too scrawny and a little bit too timid right now, going in corners, and he couldn't be using his his quickness, his versatility, his hands, that's what he uses best. And it looks a little fragile. He looks a little scared right now. For Quinn Hughes, you can't depend on him to carry your team. He's doing great right now, but he is 20 or something like that. You have to give him a little bit more time. He's part of the core for the future moving forward. Bo Horvat looks lazy, so I can't understand if he's turning into a Patrick Laine type of player who doesn't move and just wants to shoot. But he looks a little bit more mobile and in shape. I don't know why you raise your eyes like that. I don't see Patrick Laine skating any faster than a dog would on skates if he was like.
Stop with the Patrick Laine.
Like, Brandon, I think you're calling the whole team a bitch, to tell you the truth. Brandon's answer is yes, they're overrated. Keep going. No, they're overrated as fuck.
I'm telling you why they're a little bit overrated.
Yep.
Because Besser, they did. And Besser was like a good, 3-4 years ago, he was a big prospect and he was supposed to be good. And then it's falling off, it's tapering down. And Bo Horvat's your captain. And it's just like, what does he bring other than intensity to the lineup? If they're gonna brag about that being their core, and then you can look at our core here in Toronto, you can even look at Ottawa's core, and it could be more promising in 5 years.
Ottawa doesn't have Vancouver's core.
Yeah, Ottawa doesn't have a core. Brandon, I like where you're going, but yeah, Ottawa doesn't have a core.
Can I add something?
No, it's my turn. You two talked. It's my turn. Okay, so I'm taking
Stützle, Tkachuk, Thomas Chabot.
Okay, no, Ottawa doesn't get a plug. They're like 1 in 10. We're not talking
about Ottawa.
Ottawa doesn't get a plug. Okay,
2-9.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay, anyway, so I agree with Brandon. Josh said he had a good slap shot, which there's a lot of players who have good slap shots, but whatever. Anyways,
I do not correlate Ovechkin to Besser in any way, Josh. That was a horrible fucking connection.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Well, I was talking about Elias Pettersson and about their slap shots, and they were both in the NHL All-Star Game hardest slap shot competition.
No, but the question was, are they as a group, are they overrated? And I think
making
Josh.
A point.
No, let me just talk for 2 minutes, okay? I think, in my opinion, Josh kind of individualized it too much, and Brandon kind of made it all together a lot better. And I'll break it down player to player. So I think Brock Besser is a really good player. I think he's kind of inconsistent. I could see him having a 40-goal year one year, then a 25 the next. So I think he needs to clean that up. Yeah, and just Hughes and Pettersson. Brandon kind of said it. I just think they're so scrawny. They get knocked off the puck so easy. And I just think you have to look at it more as number one center and number one defenseman. You know what I mean? And then to be a franchise player, a cornerstone, and just be really good, a team, they're made up of individuals, but they have to come together as a team. You know what I'm kind of trying to say? So I just think you look at Quinn Hughes as a number one D, you have to compare him against Victor Hedman as a number one D, Cale Makar, because it's their competition. So I think they're good, but I think collectively they haven't found it yet. I think I don't want to say they're getting exposed, but like Josh said, they are underperforming. But I just think in the long run, they need to add a few more pieces. Like you saw with JT Miller, that's good. And one last thing, Jim Benning has to stop signing these Beagles, these Roussells, these Tyler Myers. I just think
Tyler Toffoli's.
No, I think Toffoli's pretty good. I think. Oh, they didn't sign Toffoli. Good job.
Tyler Myers is a Canuck. Tyler Toffoli is not a Canuck.
That's where I was going, because they lost a bunch of players, right? But they did make it. They took Vegas to 7 games last year.
No, but Josh, you have to look at it as a standpoint as now. I think they're a surprise team last year, and just going future. So I think they are overrated. So does Brandon. So does Josh. All Vancouver Canucks fans, you can get mad. I don't really care. Anyways, so the second debate question. It's just flat out, does hockey need a prime time event? And what I was comparing this to is football has a Super Bowl. NBA has the All-Star game. You see Beyonce, Jay-Z in the front row. Josh talked about it last show. Soccer has the World Cup. And for hockey, I don't want to say there's nothing to get excited for, but you see it. The Olympics is inconsistent because you go 1 year, you don't go the next, and that's only 4 years. But soccer has the Euro and all this stuff. And also another thing with hockey is a lot of people say, the Stanley Cup final, there's nothing about it. But people don't say the Stanley Cup final is amazing. They say the playoffs is amazing.
Yeah.
And it sounds dumb, but I think the first round of the playoffs is more exciting than the Stanley Cup final. Because a lot of the times in the Stanley Cup final, it's every other night. The teams you might not like. But I just think in the first round, there's 4 games on every day and just a war. So just to rephrase the question, we'll start with Josh. We'll start with Brandon. Does hockey need a primetime event like other sports?
Okay, so I don't know. It's not personal here, Matt, but I kind of have a problem with how this question's worded.
Okay, yeah.
Because what I've learned through recent education, whatever, I've known it even before I was taught it in the college classroom is that a prime time event, regardless, is classified as anything that occurs from like 5 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Shut up. That is, you're
TV,
inferring that.
No, that's not what Matt means.
No, Josh, okay. Josh, can you,
what's
maybe
a prime
it's
time
phrased
event
bad?
if the NHL has
I meant prime time. Not
the NHL
not
has
the,
All-Star
no.
game too.
I don't mean time,
Main
like,
event.
oh, it's at 8 o'clock.
I mean, wait.
The whole world
What's the Stanley
stops
Cup
to watch
playoffs?
this.
That's like 2 months of prime
let me
time
rephrase
hockey.
the question. Does the NHL need like a main event showcase? So
what's a main event showcase? We have an All-Star game.
I just mentioned 7 examples in other sports.
7 examples.
The World Cup, the Euro, the Super Bowl, NBA All-Star Game, the NASCAR race in Italy.
NHL All-Star Game and the World Cup.
No, we're hockey fans and we don't even watch that shit. No,
Yeah,
Josh, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And the World Cup, like I said, they're inconsistent.
Are you on pre-bobblehead tournament?
No,
that would be amazing. Thank you.
I'm just saying, do they have to put more money, time, and effort in one single thing so we can compete?
I don't know what it would be, though. Maybe it would be like a weekly video game play or something.
No, but my thing is just make the All-Star game better. Like, Josh, you want to take it away?
You want 5 All-Star games, like one every month?
I don't think Brandon understands.
No, okay.
Josh,
no, I do understand.
I don't think you understand. I think you have to go ask that teacher.
Multiple All-Star games, then what's the point of an All-Star game? Or what's a primetime event? Like every Saturday night is a primetime event for me at 7 o'clock when the Leafs play.
You're so biased. That's your primetime event, eh? Every Saturday night at 7.
Okay.
Prime time is Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. Give me 5 years ago.
Go. Actually, Brandon, that's a good example. What's wrestling's main event? Like, what's their big thing of the year everybody's watching?
Dude, every pay-per-view is...
No. I say wrestling...
Dude, you don't understand the question.
I don't think you get the question.
Josh, can you just answer it? Brandon, mute Brandon. Can you do that?
Okay, wait. What is the one event in the wrestling calendar everybody watches?
What's the one event everyone watches in the NHL?
They don't have
That's the problem.
So I'll take over here.
I'd love to hear your ideas then. What do we need?
So the NHL thinks they have a primetime event, a main event with the All-Star game. They think the All-Star game.
The players don't even want to go to the All-Star game.
Can you please let me finish? I've heard enough stupidity. So, the All-Star game, they think it is their primetime event. It's not. They market it for the local markets and for those fans in that market to enjoy it. They don't market it like the NBA All-Star game or the Super Bowl. I don't think you'll ever be able, like, the NBA All-Star game comes nowhere close to the Super Bowl, right? Like, I think we can all just acknowledge that. Yeah. Their primetime event, I think the NHL thinks they have something with the Winter Classic or the outdoor games.
Thank you, Josh. Josh understands the question.
But again, those are marketed to the local markets. It's not a league-wide event. So I think they need to change the way they go about it. And they might be on the right path this year with the game being held outdoors. But isn't that this month?
Every fucking game is outdoors. It's not even on the goddamn lake. It's beside the fucking lake.
I think we need to move on to the next question.
Super Bowl stadiums or football stadiums, and you're saying, oh, at least they're playing outdoor this year. It's always fucking outdoors. The Outdoor Classic.
It's the Winter Classic. No,
it's the way they market it.
Yeah, it's the only game. It's
a lie. They're fibbing to us. They're lying. They thought even a guy in the NHL looked beside his guy on the. It was like Pierre. I don't even know who it was, but he looked beside him. He was like, oh, it's not actually on the lake. They didn't even fucking know. They thought they were playing on the middle of
Brandon, you're proving our point. You're proving our point that they don't have a. Okay. Anyways, Brandon has lost this debate. Okay, so let's move on.
No. Dude, Outdoor Classic game is on way of a lower scale than the NHL All-Star game. So these Winter Classics haven't done shit for me. I don't care about.
But that's the problem.
Okay, so what are we supposed to do? Everyone gets a winter outdoor game?
No. They have too many outdoor games. There's not 9 Super Bowls for every market.
But there's one Stanley Cup playoff, and that's just as fucking good as a Super Bowl. It's the championship of the goddamn league for 2 weeks.
That's a 2-month thing, and you can't expect someone to watch every day for 2 months.
Okay. Keep going, Josh.
No, okay, let me rephrase it. This is last thing. If this question to Brandon doesn't work, we're going to move on to the next thing. Brandon, so you know how we said this person plays the Super Bowl, this person does blah, blah, blah. If you had to invite one celebrity to one hockey game event, what would it be? My point is they don't have one to go to. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
And you can't say Saturday night the Leaf game. Because that's happened. You can't say Saturday night, 7 p.m. the Leaf game.
Well, Justin Bieber's shown up to those.
Yeah.
Selena Gomez was beside him.
That was
time out. Shawn Mendes was in the crowd once or twice, and they always panned over to him.
Next question.
How do I?
Yeah, but they're from Toronto. They're from Toronto, so it's a local thing. That's Josh's point.
So when Drake was in the crowd every night at the Toronto home games, was that a main event?
Yes, it was Drake night. It was Drake night. That's the event, Drake night. That's why they call it.
No.
That's the NBA.
That's a local market thing. Why do people in Cleveland care it's Drake night?
Okay, yeah. You know what? Next question.
Jerseys.
Okay, next question. Cleveland. Next question. This is
okay. Then fuck it. No. Let the fucking Maple Leafs do a Drake night. Let's see how it works out. Or the fucking New York Rangers do a Jay-Z night. Or like, let's see something else.
Okay.
What about that? Like
a main event.
I'm gonna say me and Josh won that because I don't think Brandon knows the question.
Right.
Okay, so the third question. This is actually kind of serious, so we have to like stop laughing and tone it down a bit.
All right.
Should we even be playing sports during the COVID pandemic, either professional, junior, or recreational? So do you guys think it's okay to tell humans you have to play a sport, even if it's local Mohawk hockey, even the professionals? So Josh, do you think we should be playing sports at all during the COVID pandemic in a group setting?
Yeah, they're given the chance to opt out, right? Like, they're not being held by gunpoint and being told to play. I think where you get into an issue is like the vaccine discussion, which we won't get into too much because we're running out of time here. But I think once players start to cut in line for the vaccine, that's when it becomes an issue. But yeah, I mean, they've got the safety precautions in place. And I don't know why anybody thinks the NHL or any league is going to be perfect right off the bat. Like, there's going to be cases that pop up. Hell, the NBA, not the NBA, the MLB had like a whole team infected and they still finished their season. As long as they stay safe, have precautions in place, I think it's fine to play. And, if players want to opt out, they're going to opt out. Like, I don't think it's... I don't think it's a stressful situation on the players as people are making it out to be. They're not being forced to play.
Okay. Yeah, Josh, what do you think about recreational though? Like, do you think, like, because for example, high school football in the States has been happening. I think hockey in Massachusetts is happening. Out west in BC, I think they are starting to play organized junior hockey. So what do you think about the AHL or just minors, college, D1? We talked about that. So what's your thought about all sports trickling down?
There's got to be a cutoff. I think professional sports where you can monitor what the players are doing on and off the ice the whole time are fine. Once you get into beer league, so like for my league, for example, they can only monitor us when we're on the ice and sitting on the bench. They don't know what we're doing 10 minutes before the game. They don't know what we're doing 10 minutes after game. And the answer is we're up at the bar, all sitting together 6 inches from each other. That's where you get into an issue. So as long as you're able to see what the players are monitoring and you're testing the players, I think it's fine. As long as you can pick up a negative test, you don't have an issue. And as long as you have protocols in place, I don't think it's a big deal. Eventually, we're going to have to start taking strides to get over this pandemic and some normalcy back in the world. And unfortunately, sports are one of the biggest influences in the world. And so getting them back on TV is where it's going to go. What was the first thing that shut down the world? It was Rudy Gobert touching the mic. What was the first thing that kind of came back? It was sports and baseball. So it's kind of a way of the world.
Okay, so Brandon, I know you have difficulty understanding questions, so I'll rephrase it. Should we be playing sports during the COVID-19 pandemic?
So I like the points Josh made. The way that this is phrased to be a debate will be tough because it is such a serious subject. I think the distinctions can be made where Josh says you can monitor the individual who has signed a contract to get paid to play the sport.
Yeah.
And the difference between all three of us and Austin Matthews is that is what he gets paid to do under his agreements, under a piece of paper. There is probably something that can be pointed out that would prove that he can be, watched per se, or tracked, like Josh was saying. And, for Josh and I, we get off the podcast, Matt gets off the podcast. If we were in the same room together or whatever, on the same hockey team, and we're amateurs, we don't sign up for this shit, no one can tell us what we can or can't do or can and can't see or something like that. Now, to bring two sides to this next point, which is kind of interesting, is that it's believed that maybe during the pandemic that playing sports could add a slight bit of revenue to the pockets of leagues, whatever, right. Professional leagues. But we've learned, Josh and I've learned, even the public have learned, that the NHL needed a loan of $1 billion. So what does that say, right? Like, what does it mean that the extent that someone put $1 million to play hockey? Why can't we put $1 billion to play hockey? Why can't we put something like that into, more health programs for the local situations in Canada? And I know Josh is yawning here.
No, I was just thinking about something.
He might have a strong opinion on the fact that I lost where I was going when I think
It's fine, yawning. Brandon. I understand what you're saying. I just think, just to kind of say my opinion, the question is, should we be playing sports? I think as a society, we shouldn't. So my answer is no. But I think professional sports, yes, like you guys said, they get paid. And if you're an employee, which Austin Matthews is, of a $1 billion company, the NHL, you probably can be playing. But when you go down to junior, even high school football in the States, I'll say, I know you're playing for scholarships, but I always think maybe you could walk on, send coaches tape. Like, I know some of my hockey buddies that want to go D1 for hockey are really struggling right now. So I just think in terms of benefits for everyone else, you shouldn't be playing junior or high school. And I don't think like little kids should be playing hockey either. I work at a grocery store and I see kids dressed in like hockey gear, not now, but like when the pandemic wasn't as bad before the second wave, and they were taking skating lessons. I know Josh works at a hockey rink, so he probably sees people rushing back to play hockey, especially like when you're 3 or 4. So yeah, I just think you kind of have to be a little bit of aware. But just saying the D1 football and stuff, like, people have to remember, just because I see this argument on Twitter, the D1, they make as much money, if not more, than probably some professional sports leagues. So I think that's why you saw D1 football come so back. I know a few other D1 sports hasn't been playing. So I just think with COVID, you can never be too safe, but I understand why the pros are playing.
Yeah. So before we stop and finish the recording, this kind of hits close to home. It hasn't necessarily surfaced amongst the local television, national television, if you're in Canada. But I know Josh definitely watches the show more than I did recently. And Josh is a big fan of sports talk shows. And Tim and Sid kind of was the first one to take a hit to a contract. And recently, one of my favorites as a child and recent Josh's favorite show, I would call it Sports Center with Jay and Dan, has seen its last days. And I want to, I'm not shouting out anything or saying something directly to TSN or Jay or Dan, but someone else on Twitter mentioned that they're a big reason that I kind of always wanted to do something with sports broadcasting and communication, directing, creating. They brought a quirkiness. They made me laugh at 8 a.m. before I went to school in the morning about something that I saw on a sports mascot or a top 10 where Jay and Dan did crazy ad libs and voices. It brought life to sports. It brought life to my morning. It made me understand and appreciate sports. A business is a business at the end of the day. But Sports Center with Jay and Dan was where I started watching sports broadcasts. And that was where my love for, I'd say, media, sports was started. So
yeah, they made
I don't know
it
what
easy.
Josh has to say, but I'll bring that up because we didn't have that written down in our notes.
Yeah, Josh, you want to?
Yeah, I'll close this out with this, unless, Matt, you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I have some thoughts. Josh, you can go first to wrap up your side of the show, and then I'll talk, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I just think Jay and Dan made sports media easy to consume. They made it lighthearted, and you didn't have to think too much while watching it. And that made it easy for kids to watch. It made it easy for teenagers to watch. It made it easy for adults to watch. Even my mom was like, oh, why is Jay and Dan not on this morning? Well, it's because I've already watched it. So kind of a shame that that show was broken up. Obviously, it was for financial reasons with Bell. And we wish Dan the best of luck in finding a new role in the sports industry.
Yep, nicely said, Josh and Brandon. I just think it's a pandemic. It's bad times. Maybe something's financial. Maybe someone wants to stay home, just relax. I just kind of think it does kind of suck, but just kind of suck some positive out of everything. I know you guys study at Humber. I kind of do my own thing. So there's the positive momentum is there's going to be a lot of sports broadcasting jobs available. And like Brandon kind of said, just creating your own content. If you want to start a podcast, if you want to have a blog, but I just think now's the time to do it. Use social media, do whatever you can. And just wrapping up on COVID, it sucks that the NWHL went that way. We're obviously big supporters of that league. It's Black History Month. There's a lot of documentaries you could watch on Netflix. The 13th is one. We're big advocates of equal rights everywhere. And so just to kind of close it out on something a little more fun, you guys have any Valentine's Day plans, boys?
We will see you next week.
That's a no. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And Josh, you can click stop and goodbye.
Who do the Leafs play on the 14th?
Tune in Saturday at 7 because that's the primetime game via Brandon. Saturday at 7.
Most views potential.